Alright, time to get this old girl on the road. I've owned it for well over a year, about a year and a half now, and obviously COVID stuff meant haven't really bothered doing much with it, but I want it on the road. I want it registered, get it club reg so I can drive it around here, there and everywhere if need be. So let's go through some of the stuff we need to do to roadworthy this beast. So the first thing I did was went on the old Vicroads website and sort of read through all the requirements that roadworthy guys will have to go through, and this is pretty much what I've come up with. The ones with ticks are the ones that I've already sort of checked off and are working. Now, Speedo I've confirmed that because it's pre-88, it doesn't need to work. So I haven't installed the speed sensor on the front wheel for the fuel tech yet, because the Speedo drive in this thing's just cooked, it don't work. So I might hook it up later, but I'm not going to bother with it for now. So I've got to go through all this stuff and tick it off as we go. So let's have a bit of a look at what we've already attacked here. So obviously we've got brand new tyres. Everyone would have seen those. They're big old BF Goodrich. We've got new ones on drive as well as steer. Now, new brake shoes, new brake drums, new discs up the front. One thing I had to do was adjust the drums. So I noticed that the handbrake would lock on that way, but not this way properly. And even under load on a decent incline, it would still not lock up that great. So I've adjusted the handbrake on this now. So now the brakes are great. Don't know if I need some further adjustment. I'm not the drum expert, but whatever, they seem to be fine. Made a fair few posts on Instagram and the fullBOOST Facebook group and page about some battery dramas having here, and that's the battery that was in the truck. It's an absolute beast, but I think I must have left something plugged in or whatever, and it seems to have completely drained it. So just trying to bring that one back to life at the moment. So stick it up the back of the window. Got a donor battery in there at the moment just to power stuff up. So if we go through here as well, the indicators weren't working properly and I couldn't hear the flasher relay coming on. So I didn't know if that was because the relay was a dud or anything, but I replaced the wedge globes on the outside, and these must be for parkers as well, but they're not parking because it's got a dual, like it's a 21 watt and 5 watt dual filament globe in it. So I replaced all the globes up the front, and lo and behold, all the indicators work now. So next I moved on to the headlights, and they weren't working, and I know they were working perfect before, so I didn't know why they weren't working. And yeah, easy piece of gear, something that everyone should have, is a multimeter. So the relay on, and it's right here. So this is the relay, and yeah, I'll just run through how that works now. So this is a real old style relay. It's essentially, it's got battery positive in, and then triggers. So this was for like your normal low beams, this is for high beams, and this was the out. So this was high beam and low beam out, and it just grounded earth through the body. Now, it was working before, and then all of a sudden stopped working. I didn't know why. So what I found was the battery was fine, both the triggers were fine, it was still earth to the body. I checked the continuity between that and the chassis, it was fine. What I found, but there was nothing coming out, and I couldn't see, it looked all fine. And then I took it out, and all of this dropped out of it. So that's basically mud water. So I did just temporarily have it mounted sort of down here, and yeah, obviously I parked it underneath there, and it's just been waterlogged and it's soaked, and now that's where it belongs. So what I've done instead is just cut and shut some wires and a couple of relays. So It's a 30 amp relay for each circuit now, and now they work fine. I don't know if there's better options for these. These actually have halogen globes in it, but they're very yellowy, and they look like they're about 3 candlelight power, so I don't know how they're going to go driving down the highway at night, but here's what it is. That one actually looks like it's full of, got a bit of water in it. Is it? A little bit of water in it maybe? Yeah, oh well. Yeah, so I might swap them out for, I don't know, LED or something like that. Tell us what you think we should go for, or what you've used, or what you've had good experience with, because yeah, these ones don't look much chopped, to be honest. So, oh well, move on to the next part. Next on the list was the horn, and you can see that because I labelled the wires last time I ripped them out, and it wasn't working. Again, used the multimeter, and it seemed to be okay, but I thought it earthed through the body, just through the back here, but it actually had another terminal on there for an earth that wasn't working, as my dog barks in the background. If I press this, we get a horn. Shocking sounding horn, but it's a horn nonetheless. So that's all good. Got my alternator charge light up there, which I jerry rigged up, and you can see if I put the whole high beams on, turn the lights on, you can just see the blue light coming on there. Beautiful. Now I'm not sure if I do my indicators, you can see this one flashes, but this one over here doesn't flash. I don't know if that's just a globe behind there or whatever, but they're flashing in here and ticking, so I don't know if the indication light on the dash is a roadworthy thing, but I guess we'll find out. I might check the globe before we go, but that all works. We'll move on to what else I've got to check out. So in the cabin, a couple other things we've got to work on is obviously tightening the wiring up, because it's all loose from when I've, obviously just set everything up and been testing to make everything work, and which it does. So I'll cable tie all this up and put the lid back on this. This is the one that controls our winch and stuff like that. I might actually also wire up the washer jets to this, because the button's not really working over there. So I might, momentary button on this, which is easy to program, and have the windscreen washers going on that, because the windscreen washers are a roadworthy item, as is a windscreen demister. So that's where our fan box here will come in, but it's not wired up yet, just a control down here, so that's only really a couple of wires as well, so get that done. And then of course the windscreen wipers are a roadworthy item, so if we click these on, boom, and in second speed, there they go. Now they're brand new blades as well, so hopefully shouldn't have any issues with that. I know always sort of the tried and true thing for roadie places is saying, oh, you need a new windscreen, mate. But this one looks really clear, so hopefully I don't get my balls broken over that, because I'm sure like 1976 F350 windscreen isn't the easiest thing to come across, or probably all that cheap. So we'll see how we go. What else we got to do on this list? Alright, so we can see our little lights here, the rear trail lights, and that are working fine, which is all good. However, it's in reverse right now, and as you can see, no reverse light and no warning buzzer. I know why the warning buzzer doesn't work, because I painted over it in the Bully bed liner, which is never going to be never going to go well for it. So I've got another buzzer butt, so I'll chuck that on, but I've got to work out why the reverse lights aren't working. So I've got a breakout plug. I'll show you up here now. I wired up with a Deutsch plug so I can probe it at least and see if it's not getting the signal, or if it's somewhere in this part anyway. So I'll just show you where that is now. So this is the inputs and outputs, so to speak. So these are all the signals from the cabin, and this is all the stuff that runs to the back. So I'll just probe some of this stuff here and find out why those reverse ones might not be working. Easy enough. Now, a couple other things I have to do for ADR emissions are that, and that is not legal. So what I'll do is I'll get a cap on one end that blocks it off basically. That's just then an oil filler cap. And then this end I'll run a PCV, and I'll just run it back to this pipe here. And speaking of this pipe, this also isn't legal for emissions or whatever, so I'll just go down to the wreckers or whatever and get an airbox from whatever car, Falcon or something, chuck it here and run this pipe to here, and that should be that. Now I know it won't be a legal thing for roadworthy, but I'm pretty sure there's meant to be some kind of bush here on the striker. I'm not sure what size it's meant to be. I swear I ordered these from Rock Auto when I ordered a whole heap of stuff for this truck, but I don't know where they are and I think I've lost them. So if anyone has a hack for what I can do to make up a striker, or what size more so the OD is meant to be of this striker, would be good, because then I'd be able to shut the doors and they'll shut. But as you can see now, they don't. I've really basically got to try and slam it and it still don't shut properly. So yes, they're in there, but obviously they're not flush and not going to be watertight like that. So need to get the strikers done. So one of the things for any vehicle will be like oil leaks, and make sure your wiring's secure and all that type of stuff. So I've got to secure some of the fuel system stuff. I've put, I think, P-clips like every sort of 1.5 meters. So that was just to make sure it was routed in the area I wanted. So I'll go back and put a couple more of those in, secure all the wiring, and then check for any oil leaks. There shouldn't be any oil leaks because, I mean, we replaced every gasket on this engine. So if there's any oil leaks, it'd be barely seeping maybe out of the gearbox. So I'll just clean that up, because I won't be using that going forward. So I'm not going to change all the seals on that bloody thing. But yeah, pretty much. I think that's pretty much it. So let's do something. We've got to also do a brake test. So just make sure that obviously that the thing stops. Feels pretty good on the pedal, but feels really firm. So this should be about it. Well, yeah, let's check some of it out. Now, come at me, wiring nerds, with your shrieks of absolute disdain, but when I cut and shut the wire that had been used for the main feed on the headlights, I actually used one of these, and it worked really well. And the reason I did that was because the core wire I used was this stuff, which was 5mm or something, and the wire that was actually on there for the battery feed was like 8mm or something. So I couldn't do, you know, the old trick where just your normal barrel crimp or whatever. I didn't have any barrel crimps that were that kind of size, because I don't normally crimp 8mm wires to themselves. So yeah, just use this, which, if anyone doesn't know what these are basically heat shrink with a big solder core. So you feed this through your two wires, bunch your two wires together, and then you add heat from your heat gun on here, melts the solder. Here's what I sort of prepared earlier, and then it sets. So yes, I know people say don't use solder in motorsport applications. You know, it can work fatigue, because, you know, when you solder, say you solder up to here, well then past that joint it's going to be, you know, if there's any flex in it, I just stab myself with a bloody wire, that's great. You know, there's flex in it and it can break there, and so very true, that can happen. However, you know, if you properly secure the wires before and after, and even on where that solder joint is, and it can't move, well, you know, how is it going to work fatigue if it can't move? It's not going to. And, you know, secondary to that, this is a 1976 F350. It's not a race car. So, you know, the vibrations and stuff like that going through this compared to a solid mounted race car hitting curbs and stuff like that, and that, not the same. So easiest thing to do is just say this is your soldered joint. If you were to put a cable tie, say here and here and even here, well then that means that, you know, before the solder joint on both sides and the actual solder joint can't move at all, no movement means there's not going to be any work fatigue, means it's not going to break. So it's quite easy to, you know, solder joints and have them reliable in automotive applications. Just thing is about soldering is, well, the internet has completely ruined it, because nerds out there that watch, you know, things that say don't ever solder anything ever, regurgitate that information out to everyone, and then people who have never actually worked on cars much in their life, or have any actual life experience doing anything, then just say you can't do that, do not do that, you're doing it wrong. But those people have lived in their mum's basement for their entire life, and their work experience and their life experience comes from the internet. So these work okay. Yes, I'm not going to use them in a race car, but you could if you wanted to. It's going to work as long as you are smart about securing the wires. There's no reason why that can't work. Speaking of wires, got a bit on here still. Bit of work there. Just picked this up this morning. Did a bit of a click and collect at the old Super Cheap. Now, the reason I had to get this is because I decided to buy a expensive and very well-known brand in terms of contact cleaner last time, and I'd barely used it. This is what happened to the cap, and I've hardly used it at all. I pressed it once yesterday and it essentially exploded and half it went in my bloody eye, which I can tell you isn't much fun. So yeah, sometimes it doesn't pay to buy the most expensive version of anything and everything. I've definitely had unbelievable experience with all the Penrite stuff. No dramas about that, but really disappointed at this. We'll never buy anything from those guys again, that's for sure. So I'll stick with the old Super Cheap stuff for now. But that was just there because one of the globes is completely jammed in its socket that I had to, I had to destroy the complete globe to get it out, and then I just used some contact cleaner to get all the rusty, junky, gunky stuff out of there. But contact cleaner in the eye, not so good. All right, so as the fuel pump screams into life, I guess the last thing to do is make sure it still runs. Does it still run? Hey, how's the fuel tech on this thing? Well, now hearing that sound really makes me actually second guess if I should be pulling this Clevo out. I'm still in two minds. I'm not convinced about the barra move, to be honest. So yeah, I'm not convinced about the barra move. I really wouldn't mind putting an auto behind this Clevo and turbocharging it and just having some fun with it even before I move it on. It's I'm sure I can get that Windsor Auto and a converter off a bloke pretty cheap for a cracker deal. He's offered it for nothing basically, so I think I might take him up on it. I think we might go Clevo turbo power on this beast. What do you think? Do you think we should do it? I think we should do it. And that might do us for today. If you've stuck with us fully into the video, thank you very much. Don't forget we've got plenty of other content on the channel, so don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, if you think we should do the Turbo Clevo with the auto, drop us a comment below and say, hell yeah, brother. Until next time, I'll see you later.